That will happen during the millennium. But many people, Christians and Jews, believe that that already happened with Israel. You shall, well, I should say Israel. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach. And you shall be called the repairer of the breach. When Yahushua came, he came to divide the falsehood from the truth that is in scriptures. So he brought division. And it could be said that because of that division, there was a breach. And that breach will be repaired through the coming of the last. Because since the truth was revealed, now a false truth could be created. I hope I'm not being misunderstood. Before Mashiach, the truth had not appeared. So they thought that following the letter and the interpretations that they had were the correct way. When Yahushua comes, he shows the truth. But now that the truth has been revealed in the world, now the enemy worked on creating a false truth, and that is the false Messiah. Through twisting what the apostles wrote, for instance. Just like he twisted the Torah for the Jewish people who rejected Mashiach, he twisted the New Covenant for the Christians who claim that they accept Mashiach. So that breach that was made because of the rebellion during the apostasy will be repaired through the last and the 144,000 who are one body and actually fulfill this because they get the understanding of it and put it in practice. So those from among you shall build the all waste places. When Yahweh takes us after the second Exodus to the promised land, now to remain there forever. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. The restorer of streets to dwell in. As Yahushua, he is the way. The last comes to restore the way, because the pastors have messed it all up, have hidden it pretty much, and made different ways according to their image and likeness instead of what Yahweh wanted. So verse 13. Let me just check something. Verse 12 at the very end, the word if you turn away. So now Yahweh goes from the fast to the Shabbat, and he doesn't make it very clear because, as I was saying, he already mentioned the Shabbat when he talked about a day of Yahweh, regarding is this fast acceptable day to Yahweh in verse 5. So would you call this fast an acceptable day to Yahweh? It connects with the Shabbat in the spiritual sense. They're pretty much the same, because the Shabbat, you're not supposed to work for the flesh, meaning you're not supposed to work for Satan, looking for fortune, for money. So just like the fast, the actual fast is not to feed the flesh, which is represented by not feeding the body with any food or drink during the day. In this case of the Shabbat, is not to work for Satan, not to do the ministry that Satan wants you to do in this world, to lose it. Instead, to work for Yahweh, to fulfill the will of Yahweh. That's why Yahushua came and he said, my Father works until now and I work. And they claim that he broke the Shabbat, not understanding the actual Shabbat. So the Shabbat is not to work for Satan. And that's why it is represented by not going to work. Not working in the sense of making money. You shouldn't focus on what you focus the 6 days of the week. You should take one day to focus on Yahweh, who made every other day of the week, who made everything, your job, you, who gives you the strength for the job, who gives you the boss, the good boss, and even the other one that may help you rectify and other things, who gives you all the fruits that you receive. So just like, for instance, Yahweh made all creation through 10 sayings as the 10 commandments. And in this case, the 10 sayings, I mean, he said, let there be light, that the water should divide, and other things throughout Genesis 1. So 10 sayings in 7 days. 7 days. 10 sayings, that's something spiritual, because he manifests as the word and the voice, saying. So 7 and 10, completion for the earth and the heavens, perfection in the earthly, 7, in the heavens, 10, as in Yahweh first and last. On the earth, that makes 10. So the earth represents the number 7 plus Yahweh as first and last, 10. Or you could say also Yahweh, his spirit, and the sun plus the 7 of creation, that makes the whole 10. So my point here is 10 sayings, 7 days. Just like from all the things that you receive from Yahweh, you should set apart 10% to give back to him, to show your faith regarding him giving you the whole 100%. So you give back 10 to represent the 100. Just like you give 10% of your fruit, whatever that may be or how that manifests, you should give Yahweh 1 day of the 7. So 10 sayings, 7 days. That's why tithe and then Shabbat. It is a time that you take to give to Yahweh. I hope that is clear. So if you turn away your foot from the Shabbat, so here the Jewish people take it as that you shouldn't walk a certain distance. If that were so, Yahweh would write, if you turn away your foot from walking this exact distance, then blah 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 blah. But that's not what it's saying. So the Jewish people add commandments of men, making people not walk a certain distance, and that is one of the reasons why Yahushua said to pray, so that the going away to the mountains of Matthew 24 doesn't happen on a Shabbat. Mainly, one of the reasons, I repeat, because in Jerusalem during Shabbat everything's closed, so everything will be harder if you need to do something like go to the mountains. But there are other reasons, and eventually we will read about that and go deeper. So if you turn away your foot from the Shabbat, what Yahweh is telling us here is not, do not walk like 2 kilometers, because if you walk 2 kilometers and a meter, you already sin, and I don't want to see you. It's not that. Yahweh is saying, do not go and do your will, do my will. Do not use your foot to go after the things of the flesh, to go after the things of this world. Use it to go after Yahweh, because Yahushua said, I am the way. So since Yahushua is the way, we need to walk through that path. So if we were to interpret the walking in the literal sense, then when Yahushua said, I am the way, that wouldn't be understood at all. First of all, people would try to step on him, which is what they kind of do and did. But my point is, Yahushua is the way. So when Yahweh tells us, if you turn away your foot from the Shabbat, so your foot as in your will, we should go towards Yahweh, meaning through the way of Yahweh, which is Yahushua, his son. If you turn away your foot from the Shabbat, from doing your pleasure on my set apart day, confirms it right there. What is the point of the Shabbat? To look to please Yahweh, to give him pleasure to our doing, whatever we do. that it may be to please Yahweh. So does that mean that the rest of the week we can offend Yahweh or that we can sin? Obviously not. And that's why I repeat, we should live in Shabbat when it comes to the spiritual sense of it. We shouldn't be going after our own will. If it is not the will of Yahweh, we should stop. We should always look for the will of Yahweh, because we should know that whatever His will may be for our lives is the best thing that we can have. No matter what our heart tells us, you will be better off if this and that. You should have this and then you will be happy. All of that is of this world, is vanity, is falsehood. So we need to understand that what will really fill our hearts, in the sense that people want to be filled, the only thing that can fill us is going towards Yahweh, fulfilling His will, because He's the one who made us. So He tells us what to do in order to fulfill our mission. And fulfilling the mission is what will fill us with the reward and with the happiness and with shalom and many other things. So if you turn away your food from the Shabbat, from doing your pleasure on my set apart day, your pleasure. It is not that Yahweh wants you to be sad on the Shabbat. It is that you don't look for your own things like you normally do all the time. So since Yahweh knows that, and He's humble and He respects even your free will and your time, so much so that He says, no, just give me a day. Just give me a day. Then the rest of the week you go and do your thing. Give me a day. Through that one day, you will come to love Him so much that you will want to live every day in His presence, because you will know that the rest of the week is nothing without Him. So then you will seek to live in Shabbat, seeking His will instead of your own. So if you turn away your food from the Shabbat, from doing your pleasure on my set apart day, and call the Shabbat a delight, people may not call it with the words anything bad, but they see the Shabbat, mainly in Judaism, as a chain, as something that brings a lot of and I repeat, they may not say it with their mouths because they're supposed to say that it is a delight, but it becomes troublesome in a way, because they need to do a bunch of things before to prepare. They need to have everything ready before a certain time according to their false calendar, and they cannot do, well, pretty much anything during those 24 hours. And if they do certain little things which their rabbis call work, then they have sinned, they broke the Shabbat, it's all done. So it is pretty much a yoke, which Yahweh was telling us that we should take away. It is pretty much a burden. It's not a delight. They don't delight in it because they need to check so many opinions and ways of fulfilling the Shabbat according to the supposed wise, the Chachamim. And of course they were wise regarding certain things and they had a lot of knowledge, but they did not have the truth, because if they did, they would accept Yahushua as Messiah. So, call the Shabbat a delight. We are supposed to be delighted in the Shabbat because we are finding Him, because we are looking for Him, because we are learning more about Him. But people see it as a pain, as a, I repeat, a burden. So I call the Shabbat a delight, the set apart day of Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor Him, not doing your ways. Honor Yahweh, not the Shabbat, because as Mashiach said, Yahweh made the Shabbat for the Son of Man, not the Son of Man for the Shabbat. Through the commandments of men, the Jewish people end up worshiping the Shabbat as they worship the letter. So they actually act as if the Son of Man was made for the Shabbat. However, Yahweh made the Shabbat for men to seek His presence, for men to rest from all the vanity of this world. But they don't see it like that. They see it as don't do anything and be careful, because if you lift up a hand, you already worked, and that is sin. And of course, it doesn't go that far, but pretty much, I mean, like touching a button, tying your shoes, stuff like that. The set apart day of Yahweh honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, not doing your own ways, like the commandments of men, for instance. We are supposed to honor Yahweh on Shabbat, not honor the letter or the pastor or rabbi who interpreted the scriptures according to the falsehood that the letter gives to the flesh. Because it is the flesh, when the flesh is the one interpreting the letter, you will receive death and falsehood. But when you confess Yahushua as your Savior and seek for his Ruach, the Ruach of truth, then that Spirit will anoint you and explain to you when you read, when you study, when you seek the presence of Yahweh. So, and you shall honor him, Yahweh, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words. Like people like to speak about sports, about, well, men, about cars, and about many things that have no importance at all. So that's why I repeat, we should live in Shabbat every day. Speak about scriptures, and everything that you speak about, always do it from the point of view of scriptures, in the sense that even if you're talking about a subject that has to do with somebody else's life or society or whatever, find the wisdom, the knowledge, the truth, the teaching in whatever conversation you're having. Find Yahweh in everything. That is the point, pretty much, of what I'm saying. Then you shall delight yourself in Yahweh. This is important, because people don't delight in Yahweh. They see it as a burden, because they see the Shabbat as a burden. But when you see the Shabbat as a delight, then you will delight in Yahweh. When you understand what the Shabbat is and you do it the right way, meaning seeking his presence, not moving a finger. If you do it seeking his presence, then you will delight in Yahweh, and you will know him and you will love him. However, if what you do is to fulfill the commandments of men, keeping the Shabbat according to the letter, then you won't delight in it. It will be a day that is harder than the rest of days, because there's a bunch of things that you have to do before and plenty of things that you cannot do at all during it. So, if you do it right, then you shall delight yourself in Yahweh. And I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth. So Yahweh will exalt you when you give him the time that he asks of you. And of course, we should give him all the time, because he gave us our lives, meaning we should invest our life in the best way. But Yahweh respects our free will, and if you want to invest your time in things of this world, you can do it. But at least take one day out of those things to seek his presence. Then you shall delight yourself in Yahweh, and I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Yaakov your father. The mouth of Yahweh has spoken. So Yahweh is promising that this will happen when we do things right.